It's early in the morning, January 11th, 2025, and there are so many reasons why the LA fires should not have escalated to the level that they have. It is amazing that so many people have been spared for their lives. However, the devastation is going to be hindering us for years to come. Now, one of the issues was the fire hydrant failures. Hydrants in the Pacific Palisades, for example, lacked water, obviously due to demand, but also there was water diversion that was placed to essentially protect endangered fish species. This diversion hindered firefighter efforts because they just didn't have the water. And that itself is a really, really strange situation because at this point we have lost so much wildlife to fires. So it didn't serve any sort of purpose at this point in the long term. The other issue was budget cuts. About $17.6 million dollars were cut to reduce the LAFD budget from $837 million to $819 million. Now, yes, $800 million is still a pretty big budget. However, every penny counts and it's still important. The weird part, though, is that the relocated funds were given for a homeless initiative, which is, we do have a very severe homelessness issue in Los Angeles. But the weird part is that half of that money has still remained unspent. It hasn't even been used for its purpose. And that allocation and reallocation was in 2024. So there's been some time. The cuts limited resources, delayed responses, and strained mutual aid, even though, yes, it is still a big budget, but, it counts. Leadership negligence was another point. Mayor Karen Bass was abroad during the crisis, and that obviously drew criticism for absence during a pretty important emergency. Obviously, she might not have known, but her response to the situation was less than satisfactory for most of us. The state governor, as we know, Newsom, also faced backlash, obviously, for inadequate resource allocation and ignoring fire prevention needs from long ago, being warned on many occasions. Also, what is ridiculous to me is the insurance withdrawals. In 2023, 24, and even some of my friends said recently, a couple weeks ago, before this started, State Farm, Allstate, and a bunch of other insurance companies stopped issuing or renewing policies in wildfire-prone areas. They say wildfire-prone, citing financial risks. Now, my friend is not really in an area that would have been considered really wildfire-prone, so it's kind of odd that this was happening. State Farm canceled allegedly 72,000 policies, including 40% of homes, leaving many without coverage and reliant on the expensive FAIR plan options, which is just not affordable for most people. The more wealthy individuals might have been able to get that, so their insurance might be able to be on their side for this, but at this point, most people were not fortunate enough to have the ability to afford something like that. And why in the world would the insurance companies cut this so close to when the fires occur? Is it coincidence? Also, water diversion. Water, as I mentioned earlier, is critical and for firefighters, and diversion I mentioned as well. It was diverted to preserve an endangered fish habitats, and that is important, sure, but it strained the resources, it made it impossible, and it caused so many other species of animals to die at this point. So we have to be careful about that, especially in a place like California and Los Angeles, where it is predominantly more on the dry side. It is a very strange move, and so hydrants and many sources of water were just nothing there. There were ignored warnings, which I think is a really pivotal point. Donald Trump, we saw the video, some of you might not have, please look it up. He did warn in 2006 about the fire risks and poor forest management. Now, whatever side you are on politically, the point is not about Trump or who or what. It's about the fact that there was a warning. And he did mention that there was, in the video, there was huge fire risks, poor forest management. I mean, that they were not even trimming the areas. The government is supposed to, PGE, I believe, is supposed to take care of these kind of things, and they said, yes, we'll do that. It never happened. Streets and overall brush and so forth were just not controlled. And I have been in LA for a very long time, and I can tell you there is just very little control of that, and spreading fire would be inevitable. But the thing that is strange about, the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, even the Sunset fire, is how they were spread across. And with that, a lot of people have now found out that there were arsonists involved. Some fires, like the Sunset fires, were deliberately set, exacerbating the crisis. And investigators are currently underway to prosecute those are responsible, but my friends have been sending me videos. I've been seeing videos. You've probably been seeing videos of deliberate startings of the fire and gasoline and certain things that are just very strange. Now, why is the question? A lot of people were pointing to the fact that this is global climate change, global warming, etc. And though there has been climate shifts, definitely some climate shifts in the past few years, this just doesn't look like that. At this particular time, the Palisades fire has burned about 21,000 acres of land, and the containment, it's about 8% as of yesterday. And the impact of this at this point is that 150,000 people have been told to evacuate in the Palisades area, and at least 11 deaths have been reported at this time. Now, that's very low casualty rate, which is really a good thing. That means, there was some preparation, but technically the devastation is going to be unbelievable. The Eaton fire right now, the acres burned right now are at 13,600 acres. The containment is at 3%, so the concern for the Eaton fire is pretty high right now. And the impact right now for the Eaton fire is about 6 fatalities. So a lot of structural damage as well. The Sunset fire was able to be taken out really quickly because of the reservoir nearby, which is a really lovely reservoir, and I'm very glad it wasn't emptied, because one of the reservoirs for the Palisades area was emptied. That's also another point that was very strange. And the containment is done for the Sunset fire. It threatened a lot of areas and prompted evacuations, but that one is in control. There are other budding fires, the Kenneth fire that they believe was arson, and a lot of other fires that have come across. If you've seen, definitely download the Watch Duty app. Now, this is extremely important because a lot of people were getting false reports and false notifications on their phone about evacuation. And this caused a lot of issues because people were like, oh, do I need to evacuate? But it was a false alarm. Now, that doesn't mean that it couldn't be a real alarm soon. So get the Watch Duty app on the App Store if you can. It's on Android, it's on iOS. Get it immediately because it will actually tell you information about what areas are truly for evacuation. It's a nonprofit. Get that immediately. Try as best as you can to wear a mask for the fact that there's so much toxic air right now. Now, the fires, they create a lot of smoke, a lot of toxicity. The fires are being put out by specific chemicals as well as water. And those chemicals are also going to be in the air, so be careful of that. There's a lot of toxicity in the air. There's a lot going on right now. And if you're in the California area, you really need to be aware of that. I am currently back home in Washington, safe with family. However, this is going to affect the air quality for all areas, even Washington, because we're quite close, and it's going to cause a lot of issues. So prepare yourself for doing things for your lungs, immune system, because it's going to create a lot of issues with our health. So that is really important, and I really just hope everyone stays safe. I'm going to see if there's any more information I can find, but at the end of the day, the firefighters have done so much. Half of the casualties at this point, if not more, have been firefighters that have perished in this situation. So those who have fought this fire are truly heroes, especially with the resources that they don't have. And my friend is making food for those in the LA area, firefighters specifically. He's created 500 meals at this point. There's so many people supporting so many people. And I will say, when Los Angeles gets together, we're quite an amazing city, but we really need to come together and make sure that our government and our leadership and everything else is in control, and we don't get stuck in situations like this. So that's the report for right now.